something I'm curious about in the context of all this, what we're talking about, and definitely curious for viewers or listeners too, where they are with what's on their plate. So, there's spinning a lot of plates, right? And underneath that, for me, you have seasons where you feel like you're spinning a lot of plates and it's a lot to manage. I do too. And correct me if I'm wrong in making this distinction. One of my, it's something that is a strength at times, and it's something that is a struggle at other times, is a general feeling of an intensity and an anxiety about being behind, sort of like I'm not in a place where I think I should be in a number of areas, and there's just a general intensity to get caught up. And I don't ever get that impression from you. And that's not to say that it's not there. There aren't times where it's there. You might feel behind on a specific project. My intensity is I feel behind in life. Yeah. Like I'm behind on a lot of areas of life. And whether or not that's true, or it's just something that I've told myself, the narrative that I have in my mind because of some idea I have of where a 45-year-old person with my background should be in their life. Coming here today and doing this podcast, there's a certain amount of anxiety it creates, and not in a bad way necessarily, but it's related to that intensity of feeling like I'm behind, and that sitting down to do this podcast, while it's great and it is progress toward all my goals, and it's a part of my overall plan and strategy to create things and provide value to an audience and get something out of it myself. There's a general sense that it's a little bit lower on the priority scale compared to my main channel, right? And I don't like that feeling of intensity. I don't like that, to do something with you and to do this during the day, that I almost categorize it. I almost categorize it as a generally, negative's not the right word, but sort of like going into debt a little bit to do it. And what I like about you and your energy and all of this, and with where you are, my read is that type of intensity or anxiety isn't present at all. So you come off as, and I don't mean like come off on the show, but just to me, more even keeled. And that's not to say you don't have your drama or your issues or your concerns, but just a little bit more even keeled. Where old Matt's is like, just intense.
Yeah, I think I guess that's definitely a compliment, because there's definitely still anxiety present. Maybe not for those things.
Right.
I kind of just take the moment as the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, me, I'm very singular focused.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes maybe that's like an intensity of focus, and I just try to focus on whatever the task at hand is.
Yeah.
And I'm usually not that good at multitasking, so I just give up on it. Like I'm not going to try to do it. So, you just pick whatever the thing that you are doing right now, try to put as much focus and intensity into it as you can.
Yeah.
And then when that's done, move to the next thing. It's just like a generally useful way, and from my perspective of how to look at things, or at least that's been useful to me. There's moments of anxiety or you feel like you're behind, but I think a lot of that does come when you start to look out and compare to other people. It's probably not the most useful thing.
No.
It's human. Everybody does it, I think, but it's probably not the most useful thing to look out and just compare yourself to.
Right.
It's just everything is unique to whatever the particular situation is. That probably is a byproduct, though, of me just, like, when I'm doing the podcast, usually all I want to be thinking about is what the conversation is.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying not to have more than that go on. And sometimes, though, it's hard. Like, I'll sit down to read or something and my mind is in a different place.
Yeah.
I wish I could kind of have this focus when I'm doing things like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to fight so hard for that, but one thing at a time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of why I push sometimes towards doing the podcast more in the evenings or on a weekend, because I can be more present.
Yeah.
Because, and not that it should, but that the sort of the value of that time real estate is, it's not that it's less valuable. It's just that it's more open and accessible than during the day. And this is all just, unnecessary classification of the value of certain parts of the day.
Yeah.
But I've just convinced myself that if you're not working on the thing that is of primary importance to your financial well-being, and all that you're sort of going into time debt.
Yeah.
By not prioritizing those things.
It had been a golden afternoon, and I remember having the familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer and summer.